Okay, my friends, here we are again on another Let's Talk with the Doc. And as always, I'm excited to be here because there's always somebody to talk to. Everybody has a story, and all stories are unique. And this evening, I'm happy to have with me Stacy Ann Garvey. And she'd been on the program some years ago. I remember how long it was. But here she is again tonight because she has moved up into life and ministry and society and all of that stuff. So things shifted based on what I have seen. So I'm excited to talk to her. So when I come back, I'm going to be talking to Stacy and Garvey to find out a little bit about her story. And those who don't know the story, hear a little bit, and then I'll get a chance to hear some more. So when I come back, my friends, I'll be definitely talking to Stacy. And so stay right there. ORB Ministry presents Let's Talk with the Doc. Grace Without Borders podcast. A thought for you. Ask Pastor. And a whole lot more. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. All right, so I am going to talk to Miss Stacy Ann Harvey, and I'm excited to have you with me tonight. I'm trying to figure some things out on my side here, but blessings and best wishes to you. How have you been? It's been a long time since we saw each other, and I'm glad to see you tonight again. So, what life has been doing with you since we saw each other the last time?
Well, I've gotten older.
Ha 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 ha.
I've gotten older.
You gotten
But
older. Okay.
I've been doing well.
You've
I've
been
been
doing
doing well.
well.
Thank you so much. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's my pleasure to have you as well. I'm trying to get my YouTube thing working away, and I'm not sure why it is not showing up. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so here we go. All right. That I get that one figured out. All right. I'm trying to get myself connected all different ways. So I'm excited to have you with me tonight. All right. So now we are on landline. So you get older. So have I. Every year that you put on since we met the last time, I put on the same amount. I remember when I was 15 years old. I can't forget it. When I was 15 years old, one of my cousins said to me he was 13. And he said, "Oh, you're only two more than me. I soon catch you." That's been a whole lot of years ago, and we are still at the same place. All right. So for the people who don't know Stacy Ann Garvey, the first time you were on the program, you were Stacy Resurrected Garvey. Now it's just Stacy Ann Garvey. So the people who don't know Stacy Resurrected Garvey, what do you want to tell the people who don't know Stacy Ann Garvey about your story, about where you were born? What was a little synopsis, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. You have a book written as well, and there's so much happening. So give us a hint. Your microphone is muted.
I don't want to disturb you when you're talking, so that's why I muted. But
Well,
so there's
all
not
you gotta do is
much
just
to
keep quiet, and you'll be fine.
the- so there's not much to what is not known already. I'm a mother of two boys. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, um, I'm a coach. I love journalism, I love life, food.
No food.
There's very tasty, really.
Okay, so for those who don't know Stacy, because a lot of people don't know you, although you're popular and you're going places and doing things. There's a lot of people who don't know Stacy. You were on my program maybe 3 4 years ago. There are a lot of people who've never watched my program then who watch it now. So there are always new people. So who is Stacy? Where you were born and what was it like? We're just getting a little synopsis of the early days of Stacy getting up to where she, become an author.
So I was born in Kingston. Was raised most of my life in St. Thomas with my grandparents. My mom had me young. She she's awesome, by the way. Thanks, Maureen. I went to Seaforth High School. I graduated the valedictorian. My life started spiraling, just a wrong path and becoming a mess. And then, I had an encounter with it, which really changed my story. And that's how the name Resurrected Garvey.
Okay. So and this program you can say as much as you want to and you can say as little as you want to. Um uh, do you want to tell anybody new about Stacy's story? Because you're selling up, you have a book now, right? You have a book now that is called, what's the title of the book?
My prison break.
My Prison Break. So if somebody see that title in a book, first of all they're gonna get curious. What does that really mean? But if somebody knows Stacy and say, I know Stacy's story, I would like to read this book to find out about this prison break. So you can give us a listen of, oh, my life took on a bad side. Do you want to say anything more about that for those who don't know Stacy? Because you gave me a lot some time ago, but again, that's like 4 years ago.
So my book is called My Prison Break, and it's really it's a life changing story. It's a story about how I high school. I got early, did my first John. One abortion led to a couple more, and I started suffering from serious, not just rejection, but serious substance abuse. I started taking until I became a serious drug addict. I started, drinking, serious alcoholic. I started partying. I started a wrong path, criminal activity. I trying
You, you,
to
you, we,
find.
we
I
still get a
suicide.
little drug. We still get a little
I
drag on
actually
your internet. Unfortunately, we're getting a little drag on your internet, so we're losing your audio sometimes. Uh, but I don't remember if I recall when we had a conversation, and maybe because a long time about, I mean, more than one abortions in the early stage. So that was a street life drug action reaction. Can you say anything more about that aspect of your life? How did you get to that point?
I left high school. Actually, I'm the valedictorian at my high, and being a teenager, I was searching for love. I was searching for, and in I found the wrong things, and one of them is going down the path of what I thought would be a relationship, something that I was definitely
Hmm.
not ready for. Work out the fact that I was even suffering from rejection just added to what I was. Found out I was pregnant, had to do an a bar. What I did was open up a door, not just physically but spiritually, for the enemy to come in and try to abort more. And my life just started spiraling on that I had no over drug, let alcohol, let drugs in that the tattoos. I started doing the piercings. I was just to cope with life. I was just to cope with what I'm dealing with. Absolutely no understanding about. And so it just became a very horrible situation. And my life just became big. There was nothing good that I could find out about myself. And if you have ever spoken or encountered anybody that has ever, you'll find that when you start doing like that is where you belong, and that is something that you can't live without. It is really by the grace of God. I mean, with to the organs that, and now my bad to worse. And for me was when I Christ, I found out prison for me was not. I ended up getting a 10-year sentence, but the addictions that I had, the substance, mental issues, and everything that I was going. And so when I met Christ while I was incarcerated, I received what would be an actual prison. And that's how it came about, really.
My friends, I'm talking to Stacy Ann Garvey. I want to apologize for the glitches in the internet, and we don't have any control over that because internet does that. But hopefully, sometimes they settle down and do better. So rugged, rugged life from one extreme to the other is like bad getting worse. Um, so you said that happened out of a relationship that you thought was gonna go good and it went south.
I think the relationship trigger, and it wasn't a relationship. I mean, I was young. I had a relationship who really. I read
So it was just
I read Mills
involvement.
and Boom books. It was an involvement, but it was later on in my journey and in my transformation that I recognized that I was suffering from. It wasn't because my family did things that I had as a child, and nobody identified, and I couldn't even deal with it. I was a child. Thought I found the answer in those fantasy books. Until I find my head about what my life should be like. And so when that disappointment happened, it got rejection in a worse way. And that's how everything started affecting my life.
Okay. So you end up incarcerated and you have an encounter. Now tell me what how did that how the experience of a changed life happen while incarcerated. How did that happen? How did the door open?
So I got a 10-year sentence. And the first days there, the first day really, because I went there the night, and the following, going up to where they have register you, I fell and I suffered a 2-hour concussion at the hospital. And it was at the hospital I found with a baby. I tried to abort 4 months prior, and I because I've seen the process and all of that. And because of where my headspace was mentally, and even focused on that, I was focused on my addictions. And so my wasn't giving me any kind of indication either during this baby, and so thought that I was still pregnant. And when I got to, and this was after failed suicide attempts as well. And so one, I was really struggling with the fact that I had failed at the suicide. And then here comes another bomb, finding out that I am still pregnant with a baby that I thought I got rid of. And so the thought of, what is really happening, and just I remember saying to God when I woke up out of the fear, like, why am I here? I won't he leave me alone, you know. But just that point in my life where I found out that nothing that I tried was working. That was in prison, that I had a little bit with about what had happened and finding out about the baby, and just wondering what am I going to do now. And she just said to me this Saturday and Sunday, ensure that you visit, because only Jesus can give you the answer.
Mm.
The first Sunday of going, I went this Saturday and I went, but the Sunday of going into church and having encounter where the word that was released from a man of God, that church, Jeremiah 29, verse 11, when the Lord said, Jeremiah, that I know the thoughts I think towards you, thoughts of good, not of evil, to get to the end. Somehow, I'll never be able to explain that move of God, because I am definitely not God. Somehow it's like my gates popped open, and that word gates, and it started affecting my heart until I just Holy Spirit. It was like heaven and earth. I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit just come down, and I just heard through when the Lord said, "Do not let the devil end or write your story." He said, "Where you are now in the one chapter. Before prison was just chapters. But he said, today, even do the pen and you can determine how the story ends." And I just surrendered to God that day. I gave God all left. To me, I didn't have nothing left. I mean, there was no value to me either in my mind and in my eyes. But I said, God, here I am. And I saw God. And my life just took around where God just changed a messy situation into a message. And my prison experience became a ministry. Right in prison, it became a ministry. God saved life. Right. I had my baby in prison. I kept him for a few months, sent him home to my mom. And now, I'm growing both my children, and the Lord just turned the story around. And there's in the Bible about the man at the pool at Bethesda that couldn't help himself, but the Bible said Jesus came. Jesus came, gave him what he needed. He thought he needed to go into the water to get healing. Came.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual word came to his rescue, and that's what happened for me. Jesus came right in my prison experience, come and out of the prison, but saved me in the prison and allowed the prison to be a testimony for me.
That is just incredible story, and one could not write their story ahead, and that's why stories are so fascinating and so intriguing and unique. Just in case, and stories are unique and they're beneficial to people who listen stories, and I want to just draw back a little bit, just for the sake of somebody who missed it when what you said earlier, because that is just beyond. And the reason I say that, because people who have had experiences like you have, sometimes sometimes think their lives could never come to any value, they could never become better. Some think God could never make anything good out of them. So I'm drawing back on that because I want to try to help somebody who might listen to the story today, tomorrow, or next year. So let me draw back and say, you just made some bad decisions in your young days. You get involved with drugs. You get involved with with bad relationship that just spiral your life downward. You've had a couple of abortions, and this time you end up incarcerated with what you thought was an aborted. You like you thought you had an abortion and this baby was gone, but now, while you are in jail, while you got there, you realize you were still pregnant. And did that were you did that were you did you discover that because of the fall, or how did you know that you were pregnant? Just trying to get myself back into that. So, how do you know you were pregnant at that time?
It was the fall. It was the fall. I was going up to the office and I slid on a stone and I fell, and that's when I found out that they had to rush me to the hospital because I had a bad on my head from falling on some, and I had to get chings and stuff. But I suffered like a caution
Mhm.
coming around. I heard the doctors talking to the wardens that took me, and that's when I got the news that I'm about 4 months pregnant.
Oh my God. How did that break in your spirit? How did that break in your mind, in your psyche, that I'm incarcerated and I thought I got rid of this, but now I do have it? How did you process that in a moment, in the flash of the moment? How did Stacy say, "Oh my God"? What was your reaction to that?
I was just thinking, I was like, what's next? As I said prior to even remanded yesterday, I tried committing suicide and woke some drugs on top of that. I drank some would take me out, and the plan was to even fall through. Probably a day or two after that, I'm still alive. I'm still intact, and I felt like I failed my in
Mhm.
that I had failed the attempt of the enemy to take me out through my own acts, and now finding out the miracle, this baby that don't even deserve to be a part of anything that I'm doing is still growing. That's the beauty about a seed that God plants on the inside of us. This purpose really cannot die. This is really what hand of God do through this, and just through this experience is really and truly amazing. And so I felt lost, like a failure. I was just because I'm saying nothing that I'm doing is working, only to understand that work had nothing to do with my attempt. It was just God at work.
Okay, so how? Okay, Stacey said, "Oh my God, this is happening." How did you tell yourself? How did you tell yourself that I'm incarcerated, and now I'm gonna have to keep this baby? What was the conversation you have with yourself then?
I didn't have any
Are
conversation
you,
with myself.
or no conversation with yourself? Did you
No
just say this is
conversation with
it?
myself. You know, for church, it's so important that we culture our babies, our young people, our children when it comes to Sunday school. And it might be cliche or just like just the same thing. It is so true. As a child, my grandmother used we were always in, we were never late for church and all of these things. And I remember that day when I to the and I was in the dorm. I remember hearing a lady praying the night before. And with all the confusion that was going on in my mind, I see it when I was a child going to Sunday school. So for the world today, above him there's a song, but a seed was planted. That was the answer. And I remember just there knowing whether to take for right or even what to do. And I wrote the lady a note because I remember that song that Jesus is the answer. And because I remembered the song, I wrote her the note. And I told her, I just a little synopsis of what I was going. Just to hear something about the I was just in a cloud. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to hear something. So I wrote her the note, premise that Jesus is the answer. And that's all I could do, Bishop. That's all I could think, So I didn't have any, I didn't even know what I was going to do.
So how did the pregnancy go? Because you say you tried to get rid of the pregnancy. How did that impact the child, if it did or didn't it?
God is good. He's 16 years old this year, and he has absolutely at all. He's a scholar at school. He's very good in sports. And he's like an armor bearer. He's basically my best friend. And he has, since he came into my life, in a conversation with him, he has been with me through absolutely everything. I was saying recently, when I get old, I don't want it to put me in any home, And he was saying to me, no man, I'm going to buy a big house. I'm going to tear on one side of the house, and I'll be on the other side. So nothing affected him. And thanks be to him who is true to his word. He's just a miracle and a testimony about when the hand of God is just on your life.
So does he see himself, now that you come up, you're in ministry, you're doing this and you're trying to touch other lives? When you have a conversation with him at 16, kids are curious, they're curious about life, they, and stuff like that. What's his reaction to what his mother went through being pregnant with him and lead up to that? I mean, kids are curious, and these are smart kids these days. They sometimes, kids ask questions now that we didn't ask when we were children. What kind of conversation do you both have when you relive that with him, now that he can understand the process and the dynamics?
You know what, Bishop? When I released my book in 20, my smallest son, before publishing the book, he made a demand that he get the first copy that is printed of the book, because he wants to be the first reader.
Really?
I gave him the first, and then my other
he want to be the first to read.
The reader, and I gave him a copy, and then I gave my other son a copy. And during COVID, when the Lord was just doing something in terms of me parenting, because I was struggling as a parent, thinking that, maybe I'm a parent, but there really allowed me to in parenting. Not just little things that I need to do, be a father, and the Lord had to highlight so many things for me. But one day we had sessions as a family. And so one day I sat with both boys and I told them my entire story. We sat for hours and I told them from start to finish, and I was open as possible, based on even their ages. I said it in ways that they could understand. My
Mhm.
boys are my biggest supporters when it comes to ministry, even my testimony. And one of the things that they have done for me, not just light, but encourage and even empower truth. Because for them, they are not even ashamed of anything that I've through. My son said to me, he said, Mommy, I had to, and so I mean, I act like adults,
What he say?
but
What he said to
I've
you?
been very open with them, and they've to go through that for him to come home.
You had to go through. Okay,
And
okay.
so I have adults, you know. Um, I struggled with how I would break down stuff to them, but the Lord made it easy, and I believe giving them such great understanding towards, just life and experiences, and gone with me, they evolved with me, and so they know the journey, and they actually understand, and yeah.
Wow, wow. Oh, okay. So you got the baby in the hospital. You send the baby home. How did you come in? You say you sent him to your mom. You sent him to your mother from the hospital after he was born.
Actually I kept my baby with me about 9 months. I was in custody.
Wow.
It was river between paperwork and um you know it was a whole lot of stuff, but just let's just say God just worked it that way, so I was able to breastfeed and bond and all of that with my baby while and then about 9 months, yeah, I sent him home to my mom, and she would be able to visit me with him and stuff. There was family
Mhm.
day, but the fact that he was born while I was there, they were concerned about the how it would affect me mentally and even him as the baby. They allowed him come and see me from
Right.
time to time there. So, and I wasn't there long after he left. Thanks be to God. So it was. I really can't.
How did your mother react when she found out when she got the news that her daughter is incarcerated and her daughter is pregnant, in jail, pregnant? What was her reaction?
My mom was very supportive. One of the things I admire about the mother I have is that she's a very and I'm not, everything easy. We there is a struggle. You can say without the shadow of a doubt that my mother was very supportive. My mother was always my mother played the the father while I was incarcerated. I'm not gonna tell you that it was hard for her seeing me in that situation because I'm the only daughter that she has. But her support gave me through. She would always say to me that you're not gonna smile again. This is just a season, she was a little appointed about the choices that because she probably heard, but she didn't know the extent of my addiction and the stuff that I was through. And as a mother, you wouldn't want to hear these things concerning your children. So of course, there was a disappointment, but the fact that she was my mother took precedence over everything else. And that is something that I not just admired her, but I pulled strength from that. And so I say publicly that, my mom was one of the most supportive mothers that anybody could ever ask for in that situation.
That's incredible, my friends. I'm talking to Stacy and Garvey, and we're gonna hear about her book and later on that she wrote that she called Prison Break, and it'd be interesting to read that book. I didn't get a chance to get my hand on it yet, but I've spoken to her before, and I'm getting to talk to her again. Um, what was it? What was the environment? Because I'm just curious about the environment with you, with inmates in your circle. Yeah, there was you were the, or maybe the only person in your time who was pregnant while incarcerated. What was the inmates' conversation interaction with you during that time? Were they kind of consoling, or what was it like?
So prison saved my life. I'm not telling prison is anywhere for anybody. No. And I would never want to go back to prison. But prison saved my life. Um the Lord allowed the situation to work out at the time. I was not the most comfortable, but I was not uncomfortable to the extent that I couldn't. The inmates
Hmm.
that were there at the time, I had support. I remember after I had my baby and I got back because we lived in a dorm that would go to get stuff washed and get the baby stuff, or get the inmate stuff, sterile stuff and all of that. There were inmates in my environment where 24/7, you know, there were that would be willing to, if the baby too and I was tired and want to sleep, there were inmates that was willing to, be up and down with him until he fell asleep. And the officers too, or there at the time that there was very supportive. I've always said
Wow.
that the Department of Correctional Services in Jamaica, I mean, while I was I was treated well. This that were in charge at the time, sure that we got the best care as much as we mates, and we were, doing time we had done that was in, during our rehabilitation. They ensure that we were going through the rehabilitation process the way that we wanted to be rehabilitated, wanted to do the right thing. They showed us care. I tell you that it was best condition, or we had them know, there's always discipline, there's always need for respect, there's
Hmm.
all the taught and all of it. But the experience that I've had, I can't write a bad report to say the worst place to be. No, it is. And so there are days that the discomfort uncomfortable is there. However, I mean, it's really punishment. However,
Hmm.
it was a transformation process for me. And I was just determined to have the mind in the situation. And so I can say that, I just allowed the situation and the experience for me to help me to grow a better person out.
Yes, my friends, I'm talking to Stacy and Garvey, and the fascinating story. And I do know, we do know that she's having some cracking in this. It's an internet issue, and there's not much we can do about it. But we're gonna try to listen as carefully as we can. But so far, we are hearing. So if you be patient, you will hear. Take your time. We have an internet issues on her side, but I'm glad that we can hear her. Fascinating story, fascinating story. And I want to come back to the purpose, but we're gonna get to the purpose part. But did you have any church Christian background, connection, family, any reflection, to say, if I followed my family, if I was in church? Did you have church connection back then in the young days?
Listen, grandma, my grandma 7 days a week, seven. Monday night prayer meeting, Tuesday night Bible study, Wednesday evening choir practice, Thursday adoration, Friday young people meeting, Saturday we clean the church, and Sunday churches. And so even I remember when I got incarcerated, I got news that she had She had developed illness, Alzheimer's, and all of that. Words about Stacy at all times was that I am praying, Stacy, I'm praying for you, you know. And my always told me I was gonna become a pastor. Always. I was the baddest grandchild. I was the baddest grandchild. I gave the most trouble. I was always getting into problems, but my grandmother always believed in me and she always called me Reverend Stacy Ann as a child. And I
Wow.
remember before she died, after I got really saw her, she died. She it was she had Alzheimer's and dementia, and I sat there with her for a few minutes until she recognized that it was me. And she said, "You come?" And I said, "Yes, I come." And her words were, she just looked up and she said, "Jesus, you can come for me now. Stacy, come." And and she just went back, where she was.
Really?
For me, that was like, that's one of the greatest
Wow.
it's one of the greatest encouragement I have to continue regardless of it's because like my grandmother waited on me because she think a week or so, a few weeks or so after that. She was waiting to ensure that I became
Wow.
this Christian and this pastor that she always called me, and my always on her knees for me. Always, no matter what trouble my grandmother was always
So
praying
you
for me.
so you're saying out of the Alzheimer's dementia experience, she had a breakout moment. She had a breakout
Just
moment to recognize you and to bless you.
she just turned just she said, "Stacy, you come." Miss Arlette, because we call her, we shorten her name and call her Arlette.
Wow.
Come. She
Wow.
laughed and she said, "Lord King." And she just looked up. She said, "Jesus, you can come for me now,
Wow.
Stacy." That's it.
That was like a Simeon moment, right? Like a Simeon moment when when he waited the Lord, tell him he shall not die until he see the Lord's Christ. And now when he saw him and blessed him, he said, "Now, Lord, let thy servant depart in peace, because mine eyes have seen your salvation." So that was like a Simeon moment. That's
And I want
incredible.
to tell her that she just went. That was it.
Oh my goodness.
She just slept away.
Whew. Wow. I am talking to Stacy and Garvey. My goodness. All right. All right. So let me come back. Come back to your experience now. So in prison, you're privileged to attend a church. What was your reflection? I mean, did you recall what your grandmother always tells Stacy, and then did you think that it's ever gonna come to fruition, or you thought you blew it? How did you process that, if you get a chance? Maybe because you were so messed up you weren't even processing that. But at some conscious point, did you ever get conscious of that while you were incarcerated, get an opportunity to go to church? Did you ever have a reflection on your grandma and what she had been depositing in you?
So I wasn't reflecting until way after. But I started when I gave my life to God in prison, very active in the prison church. I used to sing on the choir until I became one of the choir directors for the
Wow.
I used to sing a lot in prison.
Whew.
I don't sing a lot now. I preached my first sermon in prison. I preached
Wow.
the week before I came home. Somebody that know me from that time always trouble me. I preached my way out of prison. I preached this Sunday and the parole man came the Monday and I was released. You know?
Wow.
So I got very involved. I was in prison. I served the prison chaplain. I was his orderly. That's what they call him. I was like his assistant, his secretary, the person that cleaned the office. I served him, and I remember one day he said, I'm releasing a grace on you. Not in so many words, but he said it. And it was the other day I was reflecting because I'm now a chaplain as well. Not that I did anything to qualify for this or any at all. But it was the other day I was reflecting that what I served, I received grace from, and somebody coming out of prison who would have thought that, I could be, who does ministry. I love serve. Sometimes I get when I see churches and different from basically was raised up in the prison. There was just a zest to serve, I guess because of the
Mhm.
environment. But listen, greatest ministry was cleaning that church bathroom. And anyone from prison, the first church that I was a ministry there was cleaning the bathroom, and I ensured that that sanctuary was just ready and clean. I enjoyed doing worship. I enjoyed singing on the choir. I did many things while I was there. I did so many things. I was a part of so many different little ministry in that little prison church because of just, you know, the, the, the joy and the peace and the love and the purpose I found just serving from that place, and I remember it was at the Easter of that year's released. I had a vision and the Lord said, I'm releasing you. But I didn't know what he meant by that because my time to leave prison was not even near yet. And he said, I'm releasing you. And something about passing a test. Because there are so many things that I didn't understand. It's years later now I'm realizing what God was saying. But it was a joy for me to serve in that prison church and to do all of those things and
Wow.
just to worship. I would wake up every day and get myself together just to go to that prison church because it's what I found peace and I found purpose
Yeah.
and life in doing.
That was gonna be that was gonna be my question, about what it meant to you. You found, okay, so it allows you to get your mind off the realities of your life of incarceration, and it puts you in a community where there is fellowship and grace and love and mercy. So that's like your breakaway time for happiness and joy. So you were giving it your best shot. Did you feel like, and I'm no, hindsight is always 2020. When you look back, you see, you can't look ahead and see what God's plans are so much. But when you look back, you can see how the pieces fall in place. Did you look back, or have Stacy looked back and said, as tough as my life was, my addiction, the stumbles, the abortion and the attempts, as rough as those were, God was using those, unfortunately, in the human mind, to get me away to make something else out of me, because experience teaches wisdom. Did you ever say, God, you were doing a job on me and I didn't know what it was, but thank you?
Every single day. I don't I love, and if I don't have anything to say anything because I believe that my weight and they should carry meaning. And so when it comes to ministry, when it comes to pouring into people, comes to evangel, when it comes to people who think they're a failure, when it comes to persons just struggling to live each and every day, I believe that God allowed me to go through all of those things so that this little person can connect to others who are going through the cares and the struggles of this life. I believe that when we as Christians deliver a message, we should give people hope and show them that, look, what you're going through now, it is just a journey to build up that resume and that testimony. It is just the path that God has chosen for you. You know, I so much in life. I failed so many areas in my life. First, failing myself because I couldn't have help from somebody. And because of those failures, I'm able to look at people who believe that they're a failure different. It was like I was recently I was I was going through the Psalms, and one of the things God said to me is that when you're broke, you're vulnerable to any and everything, because anything you're broken, you access. And many times when people fail and fall, it's because of broken. And Bishop, I believe that God allowed me to go through those situations to recognize when people are broken, to see the damage can occur and what can happen to somebody that is broken. It was brokenness that I was open, and drugs. I thought that I was so depressed. Started with depression pills until it led to sleeping pills, and when those weren't working, I started partying. I started in pills in clubs. I started just doing anything to give me a high, because there was something in me that needed to be filled, and I couldn't find it. And I turned to drugs, and drugs would send a wrong message to my brain that and when it wear off, you go back to square one or even worse. And so what the enemy does to a lot of persons is to give them a quick fix. And so because of what I've learned not to judge before I try to understand. And that's why the Bible tells us to speak and quick to listen, because our opinions can either kill us or kill people, or make the situation worse. And so every day, it sounds stupid and probably cliche, but I thank God for my journey. Even in my early days in Christianity, I bless the Lord that I grew up in a prison church. So when church in the world, I remember that church. What when I go in the presence of God, it's about my personal experience. That we didn't have what they had there, but we met God at that, and it built us up, and so I thank God every day for my journey, so that He's able to allow me to go into the best for those that people don't see and can't reach, because they just don't understand. I remember there was when I was so stoned out, found me on the road without clothes. I
Really?
didn't remember how I got there. And
Wow.
think I realized that I could have raped, or backed, or so many bad things could have happened to me. But somebody found me, took back to where I was, and all of that. Another time again, I'd overdosed. And when I'd overdosed, I I started bleeding, and I couldn't call anybody because I couldn't do anything. Or I just started eating so much. And I don't remember who came there, helped me to clean up myself, and they put me to bed to just so that I can't tell you who came there, but somebody came there. I know somebody came there. Is it an angel? I don't know, but somebody came. And so when I look
Wow.
back, then out there that far gone, and just need a rest. And so every day I'm experienced to not just look back and say, to be able to help somebody. Because a lot of people don't bounce back from drug addiction. A lot of people don't get a turnaround. It destroys you. But I'm here to talk about story. So a grateful heart and just giving God thanks.
Wow. My friends, I'm talking to Stacy and Arvy. And fascinating story. And we're not hearing the whole of the story because the story is much longer than what we are hearing here. But just what we are hearing is just enough to and what I like about this story for others, and even before I get there, sometimes we don't want to go through the things that God wants us to go through because they're too hard and painful. But 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 sometimes God allows us to go through some things because He wants to give us like a hands-on experience. Yeah, experience teaches wisdom, and if God would have you later on in your life to be a source of inspiration, and to be able to tell somebody, been there, done that, so I can tell you what I've been through, what God has done for me by virtue of experience. And I say this to so many of my guests every now and then. It pops into my mind many years ago, because you talk about journey versus destiny. Because some people don't want the journey because it's too tough, it's too hard, it's too perilous. But one of these days God will unveil to you, and maybe unveil it to you already because of where you are now. One of these days, God will unveil to you the mystery of your history, the mystery of your history, why those pieces had to be, because of what He wanted you to become later on. Um, so you're on the brink now of getting it. You say you preach a sermon. Uh, Tell us about your spiritual growth. It's just by just getting involved, singing in choir, being choir leader. Uh, Tell us about your spiritual growth in incarceration.
You know, I remember after I sent home my son, and it became challenging to it became challenging to go through each and every day and not have, because that was my little safety. And I remember one day there was a huge Bible in the dorm where the TV was, and everybody would just pass it, go pass it, come. But one day I just got attracted to the Bible, and the print was just so large. And I started reading from Genesis. And then where I was living in the dorm was where everybody else was, but there was a lady that lived at the back by her. She was serving a life sentence. And she was around the
Wow.
back, but the back looked like a bedroom, you know? And she invited me. They're getting someone else in the dorm, and she said, if anybody coming around the back to live with me, Stacy, you know. And I went around there, and I took my stuff around there, my bed and everything. And very, and I realized it gave me a quiet place to read my Bible, because she would go out from in the day because I can work in the prison.
Mhm.
But it wasn't my time to, at son, and I was just trying to, it wasn't my time to be able to do any of that yet. And the Lord gave me a quiet place to be able to read the Bible. And I read from
Wow.
Genesis to Revelation. And in reading from Genesis to Revelation, the Holy Spirit was explaining scriptures to me. And I remember asking my mother to bring different books to explain some stuff. There was an officer that brought me a study Bible, and then the chaplain for the prison started giving material. There was this thing that I didn't understand. I still
All right.
can't pronounce
All
that
right.
word
All right.
properly today. I see properly today.
Hermeneutics. For
But he
those who don't
sent
know what
me
hermeneutics.
different
All right. Go ahead. Go
material,
ahead.
and just different lesson. I would get quiz. One day I got a package to do a test, and I did test, and I just started having fun with the. For me, growth was maturity, and growth for me was relationship with God, where I could hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, understand when He was speaking, and understand the direction that He was sending me. because there are so many voices. There are so many voices. But then when you build a relationship with God and you're able to hear him speak to you, that was growth. And mature enough to understand, you know. One of the greatest lessons I learned was that long suffering is a gift.
Ha 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 ha
And
ha
that's
ha.
something that that's something that we don't always talk about. But when Peter talks about patience, when he talks about, you know, virtue, when he talks about the divine power of God that's on the inside of you, that will give you the ability to never fail, because all of this it was that for me. And understanding that my tongue, the death of me, or it can give me life. And so growth for me was being to mature and to understand the will of God over my life and what he wants for me, and not to get caught up. Cause listen, the anointing can fool us sometimes and cause us to be on this emotional high when we start feeling everything. And sometimes when the accolades start coming and stuff, we get caught up with a lot of things. You know, the
That
light
is
can
true.
blind us. Yeah. But having a
That is
relationship
true.
with God to be able at all times, for me, that's one of the greatest lessons, and the greatest area in which for me, is growth, maturity.
My God, my friends, I'm talking to Stacy and RV, and her stories is packed. I mean, packed. I mean, jam packed with with sections. Um, so let's we want to get you out of, we want to get you out of incarceration. We want to get you out of there now. So you said you preach your sermon, and then you were gonna leave the following day. Tell us how that, tell us how the early departure. Tell us how that happened for you.
So I got parole. However, to that, churches that coming, one of them had given us an assignment. For those of us that were on the choir. So I was selected to preach. So I spent
Okay.
I spent 2 hours, 2 weeks studying. Brought me to the book of Esther, and
Okay.
the message was the message was to the king.
Take me
And
to the
so
king.
I my first, yes, take me to the king. A message called "Take Me to the King." And so
Wow.
I was actually taken to the king. And
Wow.
he taught his
Wow.
scripture for me, yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, I was in the prison. Actually I was fasting as well. Reading the book of Esther. I was given instructions to go on a 3-day fast, and I did it. The Esther fast without water, food, and it was a journey, but I did it.
Wow.
And yeah, I preached that sermon, and the parole man came in the Monday, and I did my test, and was sent home.
So you preach Sunday, take me to the king. The parole officer came Monday, and you got the freedom to go Monday, or
You don't leave the same day. One week after, but you do the test.
okay.
They do like a urine test and something. I think it was that, and then like a week after, Monday,
Okay.
or
Wow.
the following Friday, one of
Wow.
them. But you do a week
Wow.
after.
All right. So now Stacy is going to see the light of day, so to speak. What was that for you when you say, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm getting out of here? I'm telling church goodbye. I'm telling friends goodbye. My lady will provide quiet time for me. I'm leaving her here, but she gave me an opportunity. What was that? What was that goodbye like for you? It must be
It was
joyfully
sad.
painful.
It was sad.
Joyfully painful, right?
Um,
Yeah,
it
joyfully
was
painful.
sad. It was sad. I mean, I remember officers were crying when I was leaving.
Oh wow.
Inmates were sad. Um, yeah, it was sad. Even my roommate was sad, if I can call her that. You know, it was bittersweet. I was very excited about going home to my children. You know, to my family and all of that. But then, that was a part of my life that was responsible for so much. I had grown, I had come to life, I had met God, I had served, and it was no time for taken to another place. And so
Mhm.
it was a great feeling to know that you're being released, but it was kind of sad, I was gonna miss those become basically family with. We would plan our Christmas and our holidays, So it was bittersweet.
I can imagine, but yeah, boy, I rather this one than that one. As much as my heart is breaking to leave, I rather this one than that one, because at least freedom is what everybody wanted. Um,
Yeah.
so tell us now. I mean, I'm talking to Stacy and my friend that you could share this. These are stories that people should share. These are stories that help people, and we should share this. We should share stories like these because there's so many people who've been into situations that she has been in. She has been in, and some less than what she's been in, and they find themselves hopeless. Some have been through a whole lot less, and they can't see themselves climbing or reaching anywhere. There's some who have been through less, and people have not given them a chance to fulfill purpose because they think they blew it. I mean, how many abortions, tattoos, drunkenness, this, drugs, tattoos, imprisonment, and I mean, over and over. And one might say, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? Really? But I want, and I know I don't need to inspire you because you have been touching lives since you came out. But there might be somebody who you haven't touched and never get a chance to touch, who might just listen to this program and may have been a good kid like you were, a good child that the grandmother take them to church 7 days a week, pray for them all the time, hope the best, prophetically declare they're gonna be pastor, but your life was everything except that, at least in the early days until you get to where you were. And sometimes people think you can't come to nothing, God can't use you. And now we're seeing you, and I'm repeating myself like a scratch record, because the society that we live in now, there are many people, there are many people who can identify with some of your experiences, and some of them have been cast away, castigated, rejected, abandoned, left by the wayside without anybody even thinking about them surviving. And I'm saying that because I want somebody to look at you and say, if God did that for her, his job is a lot easier for me. And
Mhm.
that's why I want to come out of this conversation with you, that somebody listening we say, if God could make something out of her, then he's not true with me yet. So you're on the you're on the soil, you're free, you're out. And what did now come out as a Christian girl now, right? Come out as a Christian girl, choir singer, choir director, studying preacher, doing hermeneutics and maybe homiletics and all the other stuff. What was it like when you got home, your baby was there, your mom was there, and what was it like for you in a new place and your environment changed?
How much time do we have?
Not a whole lot, but give us synopsis.
That's a whole nother episode. But let me tell you, When I came home from prison, that is when I started experiencing a prison experience. It was
Oh wow.
hard reintegrating back into society.
How
Everything
long did you stay there?
that I had learned, can you repeat for me?
How long did you stay there?
I was there for like three and a half years.
And you struggle to fit back into society after you come out?
I tell you, it's a whole nother episode.
Wow.
A
Wow.
whole nother episode. Like
Were you
so there's so much to talk where it is concerned.
were you tempted, attracted back to the whole life? Did you have to fight it off? How did you come up with an intent of never gonna go back, or were you like vulnerable when you come out? What was it like for you?
When I came home, I had no struggles in terms of going back to my that was never even an issue. The struggles were to stay focused on the journey that had me on because of what I was going through
Mhm.
with everything that had faced me. Let me tell you, we live in a society where not everybody is as forgiving as we think they are, and not everybody understands transformation, and not everybody is interested
Mhm.
in transformation either.
Absolutely.
We live in a society where persons will prefer to identify you by mess rather than your
Mhm.
message. And
Mhm.
for them, it will all be that, the mess and not the message. And they'll be more interested in your in your mess rather than your message. And the struggle to stay where God has placed, not because you think you qualify, God placed you there. It's a whole nother episode. I mean, it says hard. Like that felt like prison. The process was hard. And the journey into the different mystery and what God was doing in my life was hard, terrible. But I held on to God because of religion, and no matter I decided to stay in God. That's where I know I found and have life.
Some people will not want to let you go no matter what God done for you. And that's why this book is so important. Don't judge me by my scars or hold me hostage to my past. That's a book. Don't judge me by my scars or hold me hostage to my past, because you don't know what I've been through to get here. You see my scars and you don't know the battle that I've been through to get my scars. Don't just look at my scars. And I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson by that personally. And that's why I wrote this book. Don't judge me by my scars or hold me hostage to my past. So give us a little hint. I'm gonna let you get a sip of water. Okay, I'm gonna take a minute break. I'm gonna get a cup of water. We have about 40 minutes that we can use. Right, we have about 40 minutes we can use, so we can see we can pack into that. But your story is just so intriguing that I'm sure God's gonna use it to help somebody. So when I come back, I'm gonna continue the conversation with Stacy, my friend. Stay right there. We're gonna do it when I come back.
ORB Ministries presents Truth Matters. Join the Truth Matters panel for discussions on issues of the times with host Dr. Orville Beckford Sr. and his panel consisting of Bishop Anthony Campbell, Dr. Danet Ming, Bishop Colin Powell, Reverend Hashana Knight, Pastor Shelley and Tony, Reverend Dr. Norman Grant, Bishop Carlton Chambers, and Evangelist Tanisha Beckford James. Nothing is off limits for discussion. Follow ORB Ministries on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Subscribe, turn on notification, and get ready for the next hot topic on Truth Matters.
All right, I am back with Sister Stacy Ann. Um, so let's pick it up. Give us whatever you can give us in that hard transition. Maybe we have to come back another time and just talk about that transition because I hear the emphasis. I hear the emphasis on how hard that was for you to fit in. What's the highlight? Give me a highlight in that experience. You're muted. There you go.
There's so many. I would know that.
So maybe we have to come
There's
back
too
another time
many.
and just
I would know where to start. I honestly wouldn't know where to start. I believe that one of the highlights for me though was when I released my book, because I released this book from 2020 and 2025 felt like just released the book because of the support, the reception, the just how God was using to encourage and to share the story, wanting to hear the story, using the testimony of so many others, and just being able to allow it to minister in terms of not just the actual physical prison, but there are those that are incarcerated spiritually, mentally, emotionally, that this book has helped, and so the judgment of persons hearing the story and not seeing the message but just focusing on the issues that the person had, just all of those things. And I guess the feel that the testimony it's not church worthy,
Hmm.
my failures getting more traction than the deliverance, anything. So that's why I said it's a whole episode, and I think I'm at a place of peace where I can, share a lot now that I couldn't share because of the fact that there were things that was affecting my heart and who I was in God. And I share because, it was things that were affecting me so bad, but being at a place of healing and understanding that God allowed this to be a journey as well. Because with God, you don't stay at one level all the time. You have to grow. And in growing, there's growing pain, there's so much. And the process is painful. So yeah, stuff like that, Bishop.
So yeah, again, it is so unfortunate because we find that in church as well, that people can't let go where you're coming from. They can let go where you're coming from in order to see where you're going, which is very unfortunate, because of the narrowness of the mind of people and the minimization of the power of redemption and reconciliation. Listen, and let me say this. Let me say this. A lot of people go to church who don't believe fully in redemption. A lot of people go to
Uh,
church. A lot of people go to church who have no clue or confidence in the atoning blood of Jesus Christ and the potency of it. A lot of people go to church who don't know what redeeming grace and justification looks like. A lot of people go to church just to make noise, but has no clue of biblical truth and what grace and mercy is able to do. And so all we can see in people is where they're coming from, but not the power of the redeeming blood of Christ to change them. I mean, not to cover them, not like the old Levitical priesthood to make atonement, because this atonement, and I'm preaching to somebody here, this atonement that Jesus provide is not a temporary covering. This atonement is expiation. It
yes.
is expiation. Just cover, it washes away. So people who go to church don't understand. Jesus say, I wash them away, I cast them in the sea of forgetfulness, and I remember them no more. But church people cannot forget them. Wow. 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 Whew. Wow. My apologies, my dear. My apologies for the my apologies. But you made it. You made it. You made it through. You made it through. You made it through. Because sometimes when people want to have some level of monopoly over you, they try to hold you into what you were, and they can't see what God has made you. And that is a struggle, and that's a struggle for churches. That's a struggle for churches, to a whole heap of people in church. No, set free those who God set free. Jesus set them free, and church people hold them by hostage same way. Wow. All right. You write the book and you call it, you title the book. Tell us about the book. Structure, title, what's included. All you tell us included in the book.
So it's really my biography. It's really a story, but it's really a deliverance tool to help persons. It's truth. It's raw truth in a way that's decent, but it's truth. It's about the real prison. It's about what has many still bound that they don't even understand. It's about, get it physical prison to recognize that I was in a spiritual, emotional prison for years, way before I got to prison, and how it took a physical place of
Mhm.
incarceration for me to get delivered. God had to get me to a place where He could me personally and show up as only He could. and saved me. It's about how God allowed, you know, my experiences to cause me to become who I am today. God gave me an identity from just being a little girl to being a story of resurrection, and life and light. And it's about purpose, walking in your purpose, and just
Mhm.
propelling in freedom, freedom to work, freedom to live, freedom to have joy and peace, and freedom to love. It's really a story of just the goodness of God, and how Jesus is just, he's truth, he's our savior, and about the joy of salvation, all of that plus more.
I wish, I wish, I wish I could teach church people. I wish I could teach church people biblical principles and Christ likeness. Even some of these pastors and bishop and evangelists and mothers in church and all these people who think they have a monopoly and a control over God's church and want to determine who are in and who are out and who do what. Listen, my friends, let me just say this. Let me just say this. The church is not yours. The church is not yours. You didn't purchase it and you couldn't purchase it. You don't have redemption and you don't have heaven and you don't have hell. You can't determine. You can't determine who God lets in and who should be in and should. You don't have that power. You don't have that power. It's not your church. It's Jesus's church. He died for it. He extends grace for the people who come into it. And it's none of your prerogative. You're to preach, teach, and live and show and treat people good. Treat people good. Treat people good. And welcome them in and let God change them and wash them and process them and make the best out of them, because you just never know. You just never know what God is going to do with the life of somebody who you think has no value. All right.
Amen.
I wish I could preach to some church people, but anyway. Oh God, help us. All right. I've been in the church a long time enough. I've been in the church for 50 odd years. Okay, so nobody can tell me about church.
Yes.
I've been in the church for 60 years. 60 years I've been in the church. So I know the whole story and I've been there, done that, seen that. All right. So anyway, the amount of people that we destroy by the wayside and left to dead after God has redeemed them. God redeemed them and we condemn them. We can't find no use for them, no value in them. God help us. God help us. So right now, some of them still don't believe in you, right? Yeah. Oh God help us. Oof.
Oh Lord.
Wow.
Listen, Bishop, the
Wow.
struggle is real, but God, but God. I wake up every day understanding that God has saved me for as this, and just keep doing his will and just keep pushing in him, you know?
Wow.
Let me
Well,
just say that.
all right. So you wrote the book and you say you wrote the book in 2020 and then you actually publish it or kind of redo it 25.
I published it from 2020, but 2025 felt like the year when it was just released. It was just
Okay,
published. It was
it
just,
broke.
yes.
So it broke loose. It broke loose
It
2025.
broke loose in 2025.
Well, thank God for that. So he kept it for maybe God just kind of hold, because listen, God's timing and seasons are always perfect.
Perfect,
Right?
yes.
Sometimes when we think it's the right time, it's not the right time for God. And what he wanted to do is to write the book so you can get it. He wanted you to write the book when you're fresh. He wants you to write it when you're fresh so you can get what you want in it. and he preserved it until he wanted to break it out. So the book, tell us what the book title is and show us the book. I hope you have a copy next to you.
Always. So it's called My Prison Break.
My
And it
Prison
says
Break.
walk in your freedom, propelling your purpose.
That
And
little
it
that little girl
shows
that little girl on the cover looked like what stage of that? What stage were you in?
this one.
Yeah.
This was when I came home,
I
and so there's two pictures that displays transformation. So the one in the white thing
so
was
you came out of that body. That's the one you came out of.
kill that body, empty life in the other body.
Okay, okay. I see the
All right.
transition. I see the transition.
Transformation.
Wow. 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 My friends, if you want to hear a lot more about Stacy Ann's story, you need to get a copy of that book. You need to get a copy. I have not gotten a copy of it in my hand yet, but I'm gonna have to figure out because I need to read that book. I need to have that book in my collection. Because this is my second time talking to Stacy, and I heard a lot tonight that I don't think I heard the first time. But then she had not written the book when I did. You write the book when I spoke to you the first time?
I've written the book, but I believe that it was during the time, it was during COVID. So we were more focused, I believe, on the work that was being done in Jamaica at the time. And
Yeah, I know you were doing. Yeah, I know you were doing some philanthropy stuff and all of that stuff. All right, okay. So now I hear that you're doing a whole heap of other things. Now you're coach, chaplain, um, uh, public speaker. What Stacy and doing now?
pretty much coaching. Uh, I've recently launched private prison care counseling and coping services, which is it's a business that helps persons who experienced incarceration and have a challenge like I did, reintegrating back into society, that needs guidance in terms of direction and connection, stuff like that. Helping families who have persons incarcerated navigating through that journey. um just any aspect of incarceration. Can feel like grief as well, so we help
Mhm.
persons with that. um Different things we offer we help families to cope, we help children to cope with the um the challenge of that, having a peer. um different aspects of that. So we're working on that now. Still the prison ministry. I've been doing some book for the last months, visiting different ministries and conferences and stuff with the book and stuff like that. Also doing some studying as well. Basically that's it. Still have ministry in terms of outreach and all of that. um Basically that's it for
What is
now.
what's the reception like when you go um into conferences when you talk about personal experience? What the reception like? Do you find a vast number of people who been there, done that, don't know what to do, appreciate your experience that can give them the ladder to climb out of their situation? What's the environment like when you do that? What's it like?
Bishop, you remember the story of Joseph when he was around his family? his dad, his
Mm-hmm.
brothers, and when he spoke
Mm-hmm.
about the dream, they wanted to kill
His
him.
dream. I was reading that Sunday night we were on that.
And then based on what was inside of Joseph, Pharaoh promoted him and made him prime minister and all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
it's a story similar to that. Sometimes when persons are familiar with you, it becomes the value of your story, the value of just what God is doing on you might not be nothing, and it might sometimes be even taken for granted.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And
I
sometimes when
agree.
people say familiarity, it's so true. I remember
Well,
going to
The
audition.
Bible tells us that the Bible tells us that the king is not without an except in his own country, so we
So
understand
true.
that.
For the last year, every time I visit any ministry at all to minister, to just probably share my testimony, to so much preach, but any ministry to just share, I am surprised at the person that call me after or come up to me or just silently ask me for my contact number and what they share. Persons have been suffering with issues that I went through right in the church sometimes, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
outlet. There's no and listen, we got to church every week, but they are suffering. They are imprisoned by the issues
Mm-hmm.
of life. They don't have any way. Persons face income, so I have it that nobody knows, and they cover it. They don't know how to deal with it, and it's killing them on the inside. And
The thing about the,
guys, how
no, I was just gonna say the thing about it,
sir.
and one of the problem is that one, unfortunately, I've been a pastor for 46 years, so I can talk church, and I'm not talking because I'm against church, but I'm just talking about my experience of church. One of the reason people are dying under issues, not only with incarceration and stuff, but with depression and all that kind of stuff, because church people don't think you should experience those things. They don't think you think you should be praying hard enough and fasting hard enough. So and the problem is that church people want cast out everything, and not everything can be cast out. Let me just say this to some church people. You can't cast out everything. Not everything can cast out because people have mental health and emotional thing. You can't cast that out. They need counsel, they need guidance, they need direction. People to help them to understand the situation, to help them to cope or to find ways out. Church people in general never don't do that. No, the other thing is that church people are not trustworthy because they tell your story when you tell it to them. So people can't
Oh Lord.
people don't have no safe place to no confident, no safe place to talk their story where they won't hear it back. If you talk to preachers back then, they preach it Sunday. So you can't tell them. And the other thing, number three, generally, church people are not very knowledgeable about real issues because they read a couple of Bible verses and they make the Holy Spirit tell them what it is and they go and preach all kind of stuff. But to educate themselves how to deal with real life issues, a lot of church people are not prepared for that. So they can't help you. All they can do is pray with you, and some things don't need prayer, some things need help. Or you pray
Right.
and you work, you show me your faith with your work and all of that stuff. So you pray for me, but you gotta help me with what resources available. And some people don't know those things, so they can't help people. So all those things are hurdles that people are dying and struggling under with nowhere to turn to. And all church people preach to them Sunday, make altar call, and they go home.
That's 117% correct. We over spiritualize everything, and
See,
so
Jesus.
the problem never gets solved,
Whew.
and that's one of the greatest hurdles that we have. So right.
Mm,
And so when
wow.
somebody is willing to say, this was my condition, this is the reality of something. I remember when my dad died 2 years ago tomorrow. He died the 5th of March 2023. And I started going down a path. was like I was sliding down a sliding, going. And I started to use spirituality to deal with this issue. I needed a doctor. I needed to see a psychologist because it was no. Listen, I had gotten to this place with God. I thought I was up there. And Bishop, you know what? Because I felt like my prayer didn't save my father. And psycholecting me. And I needed to see a psychologist. And so I've realized that when I go out to these different ministries or even online platforms and just share the reality of situations, there are so many persons, and deliverance is not always us vomiting in a bucket or on the ground and people wiping it up,
Oh,
or
Jesus.
people licking us in our belly. Deliver
Oh,
something in you that you just get it out and you get in the information to help you. And so all of that has been happening where I've been able to help persons deal with the situations of this life that the enemy has used to keep them bound. And the tongue's not going to, I mean, time and seasons for everything.
amen,
After the
amen.
fire, then what?
Amen,
So
amen, amen.
it's all all of those things.
Lord help us. 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 Um, well, so I assume too, because the over spiritual church people, and I know I'm bashing church, but I've been in pastoral work for so many years and I've seen it all. So I'm not against church and pastors and leaders, but I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that we have not educated ourselves and not make ourselves trustworthy, and make ourselves available that and helpful, that people can come to us and find help and could walk away feeling hopeful and relieved. I'm assuming also, Stacy, that some people, those who know you, think that you maybe sometimes operating it's all flesh. It's all flesh. There's no spirit. There's no God in that. It's
Oh
just you know.
Lord. I tell you now, we need another episode. Let me tell you something. I
Listen, you
I've
promised me you
seen
come back.
we need another. I've seen in Jamaica when people are disappointed and they set up roadblocks with tires burning and all of these things. So many roadblocks from people in ministry. Even when I'm not in their presence, they set up the roadblocks because to them I'm just not worthy of what God is doing. Mind you, it is not something that I push God to do. And so I tell you, it's trust me, like it needs you need a whole another episode for all of this.
No, listen, we gonna plan to
I've
we gonna plan
seen
to
it.
come back. We
I've
gonna plan to
seen
come back. We gonna plan to come back because this is important to talk. In this time. We need to have this conversation. In this time, we need to have this conversation. So I'm gonna welcome you back. I'm gonna welcome you back. So let us talk about the experiences of how church reflect on what God has done in your life, because some people, as I said, don't even believe that God did what he has done. And that's a problem. That's a problem. And not only you, there are a lot of people who are in churches that people push them aside because they, again, their past is checkered. They have checkered past, and people who preach and teach Jesus love and stuff still don't really fully believe in redemption and restoration and reconciliation. Unfortunately, a lot of people in church don't have a grasp on the veracity, the effectiveness of what Jesus has done and can do, And it made me wonder sometimes if some of these people are changed themselves. Made me wonder if they are changed. If they experience change, they would know what change really is, and that's the problem. Oh my God, we just almost exhausted time. Okay, so what else you want to tell us, Stacy? We're gonna have to invite you back another time.
You know what? I believe that God is using this season to not just educate, to a lot of us, some of the things that we need to correct in order for us to really grow based on either in. Because the over spirituality with nothing behind it is not really doing anything for the church anymore. Like
Absolutely nothing.
our young people are just, and I don't know about anybody, but it messes with my heart when and are backsliding like crazy. You know, it's like there's nothing in, you know, I mean, church has become a ritual to many, and it's just like something that we do, you know, because it is the norm to do. But there's so much. You said something a while ago that is just so important. There's no confidence. There's no confidentiality. There's no privacy. You can't share stuff and a real concern, and it does become a message in the pulpit, or
Mhm.
your failures don't become the eye or the glasses through which you're looked at with everything. And so when the accuser says that's of the lens that you're being seen through, naturally it is true. And so we've damaged a lot of people. I was damaged to the point of
It is
saying
it.
I was
Go ahead.
damaged. I was hurt to the point of illness because of what
Wow.
I got to a point where the damage was just so much that I got sick. As during that season, I realized that no, you have to survive this, because there's so many out there going through it, but they'll never be able to talk about it because they feel like no one will listen. And the damage didn't come from people who have no ear. And understood about Saul and David. I've been there. And so we have to get to that place where there's less conferences and more educational seminar about how we treat each other in the body, and some of what we need to do to grow, instead of just over spiritualizing everything and prophesying to everybody every day, but we have a nasty attitude. You know, it's so much. So much. Those are my
It
few
is.
words
It
in
is.
Jesus' name.
It is. It is. It is so sad, and it is so unfortunate, and it is so detrimental to the generation that we are ministering to. I was listening to a roundtable yesterday that the conversation was we have lost a generation of young people because they can't do church how we do church. First of all, when I was young, and that was a long time before you were born, when I was young, we just get excited and go church and be happy and looking for Jesus to come anytime in the night or noon. He could come tonight, and that's what we focus on. We never have conversation. We never question things, because we just believe it and we just all spiritual, so but this generation is is very intelligent and
Mm-hmm.
rational and conversational and have questions that need answer, and those answers go deeper than speaking in tongues and rebuking something and
Mm-hmm.
cast something out and fasting 3 days and laying hand on it. This generation need more than that. And unfortunately, we don't have that to offer. And once we don't have that, we curse them out and condemn them because they're just devils. And that's how we can package them up as a bunch of devils, because they don't want to follow the spirituality that we have followed. And it's because they are intelligent and they need to have questions answered. They need to have a realistic conversation, a practical conversation, something that is that deals with the human structure, the human in a holistic way, not just my soul, but my me, my mind and my brain and my heart and my will and my person and my mental structure and my psychological and emotional struggles. We are not prepared for stuff like that, and that's why we lose this generation, because we can't talk to them for them to understand. um
We don't have enough evidence. We're not showing them the evidence.
yeah, and we can't, and we don't study human behavior and the mental aspect of then the
Mm.
psychological thing. We don't study human behavior, so we don't know what is spiritual and what is not spiritual. And we just, as I said before, we cast out everything. We try cast out everything. And when I did my altar workers training some years ago, I said just make sure, not, don't you can't cast out some things, right? So don't lay on people and try to cast out something out of people when they have mental issues, or they just bipolar. They have something. They need help. They need help. So anyway, wow, my friends, I'm gonna have to invite Stacy to come back and spend another 2 hours with me on another program somewhere down the road, where we can talk about some of the, because these are just real stuff. These are real stuff, and people don't let people go. They don't let you grow. They don't let you grow. They don't let you climb to the level that God wants you, because they we're like crabs. We can't let you to the barrel. We can't let you get out of the barrel. We're gonna just draw you down, draw you down, draw you down. And the blindness of our eyes, that we can see what God has done to and through
Mm.
somebody, and what God wants them to do to help somebody else, if it's not as spiritual as we thought it should be. Wow. Wow. How are your sons doing?
They're doing good. They're getting older and older.
Every
Everybody's
day.
taller than I am now. So everybody they're doing good. They're now young men.
Yeah. Yeah. Been there, done that. Know what young men look like. We raised 3 sons, so we know what the young men look like.
Yes,
Oh my
they
God.
want their privacy these days.
I know, Sister Primrose. My spirit sometimes is frustrated and angry sometimes, and disappointed, when I see people, or people hang at church and how they deal with people, especially people who are broken. People who are broken and need help, and we don't know how to help them. We don't know how to help them. We think we just pray for them and tell them go seek more of God.
Mm.
That's how we deal with it. Go seek more of God, pray more, fast more. But that is all faith and spirit. But where's the work, and how? What are the method and the strategies? What are the tools available? How do you help me to calm down when my heart is racing? Who God? Thank you, Stacy.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for the quick response. I want to give a shout out to your friend who just kind of fill my gap. God, yeah, God is amazing, right? Because God maybe just wanted to help somebody tonight, and so the person who I was thinking for this program tonight had some changes, and the spot got open, and there you go, my friend. Just say, "Ah, let me talk to somebody," and then here we are tonight having this conversation. And thank God we start off rocky with some itchy internet. We wonder if we were gonna make it, but we ending up on a much better note.
Amen.
Wow. I'm gonna have to get your book. I'm gonna have to get that book. I'm gonna have to get that book, because I wanted to read that story. I want to get more of the details in that. But thank you for spending some time and sharing your personal story with me tonight and with us tonight. And my friends, I hope that somebody has been inspired by Stacy's story, or you know somebody who could be a blessing too. Help them to listen to the story. And if you know somebody who is struggling with emotional things and their spiritual growth and they don't know where to turn, try to help them to find somebody. Sometimes you need more than people praying with you. I just want to say that you need more than people praying with you. You need people to help you in life to find a way out. And it's not because you're not saved, not because you're not sanctified, because some people tell you you're not saved, you're not sanctified, you don't have the Holy Spirit. A whole lot of that are foolishness too. All right, a whole lot of that foolishness too. But God help me. Maybe they'll throw me out of church now, but you know, I can't be thrown out of church anymore. I can't be thrown out of church anymore. I've come this far to be on my own, and I can manage myself. So I can't be thrown out of church. But boy, God knew we have to deal with this current generation and what people are going through, and God help us to find the tools to be able to help them. My friends, I want to thank you for joining me on this Let's Talk with the Doc. And I thank you, Stacy, for joining me and sharing your story. And I'm going to invite you back. I'm going to invite you back sometime soon, so we can continue this conversation, because I think it's necessary. It's necessary for people to hear this kind of conversation. And maybe it will change some people's lives, and the perspective on how they deal with people. And you know, I said before and I said again, if you can't do church, do something else. If you can't do church, do something else. If you can't help people, do something else. If you don't have the skills and the ability to help people in church, please find something else to do, because people need help, and they need more than somebody praying with them and tell them seek God more. That is all good, but that's not all that is. You say, you know, and here's my last word. If the only piece of tool you have is a hammer, you're going to treat everything like a nail. You're going to just hit it on the head, and some things can't be hit on the head. Some things need straightened out. Some things need to be redirected. All right. Follow me on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am on TikTok every morning. I do morning devotion from 7:30 to 10 on TikTok, and we are streaming also on internet. So if you don't have TikTok and you have internet, please check out Prayer and Praise Radio JA.com. Every morning we stream morning devotion and Ministry of Hope and Healing. Prayer and Praise Radio JA.com for those who don't have TikTok. If you have TikTok, check out ORB Ministries. You might enjoy a time of praise and fellowship and a word from the Lord as well. I'll see you again. Stacy, we're going to go off like how we came on. So you stay right there, my friends. Thank you again. My friends on TikTok, we stream on TikTok tonight. We stream on Facebook. We stream on YouTube. And we stream on radio as well. So, boy, we're just kind of doing it everywhere the Lord will allow us. So I'll see you again next week, my friends, on another Let's Talk with the Doc. Thank you for joining and chatting with us. We appreciate it and hope that you have been blessed and inspired. Until next time, we'll see you again on another Let's Talk with the Doc.
Well, thank you for checking in on ORB Ministries. I trust that you will share with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and stay tuned, because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.